In this video, I'll walk you through how to build a multi-step form on Wirechunk. Multi-step forms are powerful because they let you collect bits of information from your users, and even if someone doesn't complete a form and drops off, the steps that have already been completed are captured, and you can send that data to your CRM or other integrations through Wirechunk. These sorts of forms increase conversions, and they're the right type of form to use for lead generation pages. So let's dive into Wirechunk and see how it's done. We're going to be working on this form. I've got a page here with just the form for us to take a look at. Notice how it's a lot of fields, and this design would not be a great form for lead generation. A lot of people would see this form and basically not be very excited about filling it out. So what we're going to do is break it out into a few steps. There's going to be a step for the contact info, and then maybe I'll actually simplify it a lot as well, just as best practice for lead generation forms. But I'll have a which products are you interested in field, and then an additional comments field for the second step. So it'll be name and then which products on step one. And then the last step is going to be this: what should we know about your situation, or additional comments. So let's go into Wirechunk. I've got this form here. If we edit design, we see all these fields in the form itself. What we're going to do is, for the form design, we're going to remove all of this. And in the form, we're going to add a component named form step. The form step component just represents displaying whatever step the user is currently on. So by itself, it doesn't show anything, and it requires actually designing those steps. For now, we're just going to save the form as is with the form step. And then if we expand the form here in the forms table, we see the steps tab. Here's where we're going to add all the steps that this form is going to have. There's going to be a contact step, and then I'll add another one named additional. They're both enabled by default, and if I wanted to disable a step, I can just check here or check again, and then renaming them is easy. I just click in here and I can rename it and hit save. So let's start with the first step. I'm going to use Wirechunk AI to basically say, and also I'm going to tell it exactly what I want because I like structuring my forms a very specific way. I'm going to say create a box with display flex, vertical, and gap or space 4 with fields for first, last name, and which products you're interested in as a checkbox group input. So I'm going to click submit. Wirechunk AI is working on this, and there it is. So we have our first and last name fields, and this which products are you interested in. I'm going to get rid of this theme component, and one more thing I'll just check here. Display flex direction column. This is going to be just for some spacing. This space 4 variable is built into Wirechunk, so space 1 through space 9, those are different spacing units. One more thing we need on every step is a submit button. So I'm going to go add component after button, and if I click edit on this button, the on-click action defaults to submit form, which is what we want. So we're going to keep that. I'm going to make it a little bigger though. And then I'm also going to give it some margin here at the top. So I'm going to say margin top var space 3. There's no text in that button. So what we're going to do is right click the button and go to add component inside plain text. And then let's edit that plain text and say continue in here. Great. So we've got our first step. We've got the first and last name fields, this checkbox group input that a user can select which products they're interested in. Then they're going to click continue. So let's close this first step and let's actually take a look here. I'm going to go back to our form. This is the previous design. After I refresh, here's that new form. Let's just test it. I'm going to say Jane Washington, home and business, and click continue. The form has been submitted now, and the reason it's empty is it actually took you to step 2, but we haven't built anything for step 2 yet. So actually the form is incomplete. And now we're going to want to go and implement step 2, which we named additional. Here, I will go in and, again, using Wirechunk AI, I'm going to ask it to add a big text input for additional comments. Okay, this is pretty good. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to remove this padding around the field. I just don't like my forms having padding because this makes it a little harder to use the form flexibly in different places. And then I'm going to add a component. This time I'm going to do this manually. I'm going to add a button, and it's going to be the same thing. This is going to be a submit button. I'm going to make it size 3 again. And I'm going to set margin top. Now I could have easily copied the button. Actually, let me do that. I'm going to close out of here, go back to step 1, just so it's exactly the same. I'm going to copy this button component. I'm going to go back to the additional step. My unsaved changes are still here. Let's go and remove this. Then I'm going to paste after. Cool. So we've got this button. And yeah, let's just keep it that way. Let me confirm that. Yeah, it's the same design. And here I could have the text be continue, but I'm just going to actually change it to submit for this second step. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at how the form looks. Let's fill in Jane Doe this time. Home and auto. Continue. We've got our second step here. Now, before I submit this, let's go into Wirechunk and see that the form submission is already there. Actually, I'm using this fake name, Jane Doe, Jane Washington. So they're likely going to be classified as spam, but Wirechunk is still working on the form submissions. Here's that first one. Here's the second one. And now if we go and submit this step, we see this additional comments field showed up. So the form entry is going to appear as soon as the first step is completed, but the form notifications won't trigger until either the form has been completed fully, meaning all the steps, or if the user completes a step and then drops off and 5 minutes pass. So we give the user 5 minutes to complete each step. Otherwise, we will trigger those notifications for you automatically. Specifically, what I'm talking about here is on the notifications tab. You can add email, webhook, or CRM integrations. And again, these will trigger as soon as a step is completed and 5 minutes have passed, or if all of the steps have been completed by a particular user. And if it's all the steps, you'll get the notifications right away. Those are all the key ideas. But if we wanted to make the form a little more professional in some ways, we could have taken this continue button or the submit button if we wanted the same label, and we could have put it here. So I could have put a button here. Now it's empty, it doesn't have anything, but that's another thing we could have done. The form design itself lets you provide a structure for all the steps, but a lot of forms just have this form step component, and that's a very common way of designing multi-step forms. So I hope this was helpful. Good luck building your own forms.